Contains spoilers from Clerks 3. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen the movie, get off your ass right now and go see the movie yourself, as the movie is absolutely pretty wonderful. But if you're all caught up or don't care about spoilers, then good, feel free to stay in the video, because here we go. Wow. I did not expect to see that. Wow. This is very sad. Holy shit. Wow. I am a little speechless. I'm sorry about that. I am a little speechless to say about what I expected from Clerks 3. When I saw the trailer for Clerks 3, I was a little hyped. But then again, I do remember hearing about the controversy with Kevin Smith, mainly because of the He-Man Masters of the Universe Netflix reboot controversy surrounding him. But I separated from that. I do love Kevin Smith. I love all of his movies. I am a huge fan of the VSQ universe, and I am also a huge Kevin Smith fan. I do love some of his movies from films like Clerks, Mallrats, Chasing Amy, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Dogma, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, Clerks 2, and yeah, at the same time, he has made a bunch of stinkers as well, like Jersey Girl, Cop Out, Tusk, Yoga Hosers, which I'll be doing a review about that. But then again, those videos are going to be delayed, like I said, because of some scheduling issues, and basically, yeah. But this movie, on the other hand, was very different compared to Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Wow. I saw this movie yesterday, and I didn't really know what to expect from this movie. I was a little hyped for this movie, but then again, I didn't really know what to expect from it, other than about how it basically is based some of the parts about the life, about how Kevin Smith had to go with, like for example, how Kevin Smith almost suffered from a heart attack at some point, but luckily he survived. Basically, yeah. Again, I am a huge fan of the VSQ universe, and I am a huge fan of Kevin Smith films. I overall absolutely really loved the first Clerks movie, as I thought that the first movie was overall really good. I absolutely really love it. It was one of my favorite indie films of all time, and it was one of my favorite films in general. And this movie got me into filmmaking. Kevin Smith has got me into filmmaking. I grew up with this movie. I relate to this movie. It's basically the film for young adults, Generation X, and basically, yeah, people who basically can relate to this movie, and basically, yeah, I overall just really love it. And of course, I also love Mallrats as well. Mallrats, while not as good as Clerks, it was still enjoyable, and it's still really good. The characters are likable, while the few main characters do need to be more likable more. They tried to make them more likable, but it kind of just seems to fail. While it's not as nearly as good or funny as Clerks, it's still really good, and it's still really enjoyable, and it's still really funny here and there. And I did really like Michael Rooker as the villain, and I also really like Jay and Silent Bob more in this, as they are overall just pretty funny. And then of course I have Chasing Amy. Chasing Amy is by far one of my favorite Kevin Smith films out there. Another one of my favorite Kevin Smith films out there. And it's one of my favorite Kevin Smith films in general, as I absolutely really love it. I love about how it basically gets into the depths of sexuality, even though that this movie was made in the 90s, and basically, yeah, I also really like the performances from Ben Affleck and from Jason Lee, and basically, yeah, it was overall a really good movie. And hey, I also really like the speech from Silent Bob. We also get to learn more about Jay and Silent Bob than ever. Although mainly Silent Bob, we also get to learn more about him. And I thought that they did a really amazing job with giving their speech to the creator of Bluntman and Chronic, the co-creator actually. But basically, yeah, the comic book artist who was in love with this woman, only to find out that she's a lesbian. And basically, yeah. Yeah, we get to learn more about Bob, and Jay gets to mature. Not a lot, just a little. Jay is still the same, but Silent Bob basically matures probably more than Jay. And we also get to learn more about him than ever. And then, of course, Clerks 2. I absolutely really love Clerks 2. I thought that it was overall a great sequel, and I thought that the emotional depth behind Clerks 2 was pretty awesome. It was pretty cool. It was pretty unique overall, and just basically, yeah, I really love the second Clerks film. And now, here we are. And a quick summary about Jay and Silent Bob reboot. Jay and Silent Bob reboot I do really enjoy. While it's not as good as Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and while it's not as funny or entertainable as some of Kevin Smith films, it's still really enjoyable and it's still really fun to watch, despite that there were like some things happening here and there. But basically, yeah. And now here we are with Clerks 3. Does it hold up well? Well, basically, yeah. So you're probably wondering, what is the plot about this movie? It's basically about Dante and Randal after the events of the second movie and after the events of Jay and Silent Bob reboot, where basically they are living in their life. Dante misses the love of his life that we have seen from Clerks 2. And yeah, Rosario Dawson's character, I forgot her name, I'm sorry about that, but yeah, where basically he lost the love of his life, but he's still doing okay and is still running the quick stop, and Randal getting to be late as always. But basically, yeah, they would often have fun, like playing hockey around the roof like we get to see in the first Clerks movie. And of course, Jay and Silent Bob just hang around at the quick stop, just doing their thing, you know, smoking weed and shit. But then suddenly Randal suffers from a heart attack, and Dante is getting some flashbacks about how Rosario Dawson's character basically was suffering from the same heart attack, and at that day she died, and including the unborn baby. And yeah, that was the most saddest thing that I have seen. And Dante having that and Dante's scenes were very emotional, and I did not really expect about Rosario Dawson's character to die. I didn't really expect that at all. But yeah, Rosario Dawson reprising her role as her respected character from the second Clerks film. I thought that seeing her in some flashbacks and seeing her as the Force Ghost type thing for Dante was pretty amazing. It was so emotional. Actually made me feel a single tear. This movie is very emotional, and I've heard about the reviews, some really great reviews about how emotional that this movie really was. And I will admit, it is very emotional. It was so emotional. But yeah, Randal gets a heart attack, and he decides that he's going to make a movie about him working at the convenience store. Well, about all the past experience working at the convenience store, and basically some funny stories here and there. And basically, yeah, it's basically making a movie within a movie, which is absolutely awesome. And basically, yeah, it's just, yeah, some hijinks ensues, and basically, yeah. What makes the movie really good are basically the much more emotional depth, like with the first two previous films. And I know that this is a little bit more nostalgia bait type thing, but it's nostalgia bait that is done right, like Ghostbusters Afterlife, and Spider-Man No Way Home, and probably Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. But basically, yeah, even though Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness was disappointing, I thought it was still good with some of the nostalgic callbacks, like Black Bolt in his classic comic book suit, and Professor X in the 90s suit that he wore, and the X-Men theme song here and there from the 90s cartoon. Basically, yeah. Anyway, I'm getting a little... Going into this movie, I had no idea what to expect at all. And just basically, yeah, I knew that it was going to be like a movie within a movie, which is absolutely pretty amazing. But basically, yeah, this was absolutely very emotional. It was absolutely wonderful. Wow. Didn't really know what to expect from it, but yeah, it is very emotional. And another thing, what I really like about this movie are basically how it takes the emotional depths, like how it does from the second movie, but making it more emotional. Something that I never really expected to see in this movie. And basically, yeah, even though I've seen one trailer, but then again, and yeah, I just, wow. And seeing about how they made some nod references to some to the first and second movie and to previous films of the VSQ universe was pretty awesome. It was basically like Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but basically it was nostalgia that was done right. A bunch of callbacks from previous films of the VSQ universe, a bunch of callbacks from the first two Clerks films, and they did a really amazing job with it. Like, for example, how Jay and Silent Bob basically returned the dental school videotape that basically was a nod reference to the first movie when Randall was trying to open the video store and trying to grab that when that customer was trying to grab the videotape, was trying to rent it. But basically, yeah. And another thing what I also really like are basically was basically Jay's original costume design that we see from the first movie. That was really awesome seeing it back, and it just feels more like the first Clerks movie over and over again, but it feels different. That emotional depth was basically awesome. It was a lot cooler than I expected. Anyway, yeah. It does a really great job with taking a lot more of the higher stakes, like basically seeing Randall maturing a bit this time, focusing on Randall maturing a bit. And I gotta admit, I think Jeff Anderson did a really great job with acting the more mature Randall Graves a bit. Anyway, yeah. Even though that Randall probably does not get to mature a lot, but still kind of acts the same a bit, but we do get to see him mature a bit more in the third act, about how basically he finds out about we're gonna get to that later. But yeah, I really like a bunch of callbacks from this, including about how we get to see Dante just being really sad in his life and how he misses Rosario Dawson's character, but Rosario Dawson's character, still being the nice person that she was in the second movie, does give Dante some advice to make the movie. And basically, yeah. I also really like some other callbacks, like how we get to see Lando. For those of you who do not know, Lando was a character that was basically made for Clerks the animated series, and seeing him in his live action debut was overall pretty cool. And was I think a nod reference to the character from Clerks the animated series. Basically, yeah. And some callbacks to some callback lines like 37, my girlfriend sucks 37 blank, you know what it is. I'm not gonna say it. But another thing is, what else after that? Another thing is basically about how we get to see Veronica returning, and seeing the original actress who played Veronica, I forgot her name. I forgot the name of the actress, but seeing Veronica again from the first Clerks movie and now appearing here for the last time in this was pretty awesome. I did not expect that to happen, but wow, that was pretty amazing, and I did love the improvements of the performances. And I also like about how we get to learn more about what happened to her after the events of the first Clerks movie, where we learned that she was married at one point but got divorced. Also, she was having a bit of financial problems, mainly with paying with her daughter's car, and her husband wouldn't even allow it. Basically, yeah. Also, we get to see Dante's ex-fiancée from the second Clerks movie, where she is still mad about basically Dante basically having a relationship with Rosario Dawson's character, and also goes as far as to saying boo-hoo Randall, this and that. But yeah, she was still mad about Dante being in love with Rosario Dawson's character and no longer being in love with her anymore. And basically, yeah. I did not expect her to come back in Clerks 3, but wow, that was really awesome. A bunch of callbacks from previous films from the VSQ universe, and a bunch of callbacks from the first two Clerks films. Basically, yeah, a bunch of old memories from the first film, and a bunch of things from the second film. Basically, yeah, they overall did a really amazing job with capturing the nostalgia bait and just trying to be as entertainable as much as it could, especially with the funny jokes like with Jay and Silent Bob that are still pretty funny to this day and are still one of my favorite characters of the VSQ universe. But yeah, they are still funny as hell. Jason Mewes and Kevin Smith do a really great. Another thing what I also really like about this movie is the comedy. The comedy for this movie is absolutely wonderful. It is still funny, like with other previous Kevin Smith films, most of them anyway, but it was still pretty funny as hell. And basically, yeah. And I also remember seeing people in the theater basically cheering for this movie. Basically seeing the characters again, like basically seeing Dante and Randall again, and Jay and Silent Bob. And basically, yeah. I remember that there were some parts of the original script of the movie, but basically, yeah, we'll get into that when we get there. But I also remember about how Jeff Anderson, speaking of Jeff Anderson, I remember that he was a little skeptical about making a Clerks 3 and didn't really know what to expect. And there were some behind the scenes creative issues between him and Smith, but they reconciled their differences and are now good friends again. And here we are in Clerks 3 with Jeff Anderson reprising his role as Randall. But yeah, I think Jeff Anderson still has that talent. He still has it being has it for being Randall Graves, being Randall, of course. Yep. And Brian O'Hull still has that talent for being Dante Hicks, but a little bit more different. Having that emotional stakes and seeing him cry, seeing that emotional depth and foreshadowing about what is about to happen. Yeah. Also, I really like about how they made some other callbacks to how they made some facts about how they shot the first Clerks movie in black and white. And I also really like about how they made some nod references to some of the deleted scenes. Like one particular deleted scene where basically Dante was originally going to die in the original ending for the first Clerks movie, titling I'm Not Even Supposed to Be Here Today. It was really dark, but then again, the scene was cut and we ended up getting the other ending from the first movie. And basically, yeah. Anyway, yeah. They also did some, they also have like that Jesus kite thing, that Jesus statue that we get to see from Dogma, which was really awesome, from some other callbacks to other Kevin Smith movies from Dogma. But basically, yeah. And Also, I really like seeing Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar making some cameos in the movie, including Ben Affleck, which Smith and Affleck are like friends both on and off camera. Basically, yeah, seeing him again in the cameo of Clerks 3 was pretty awesome. I mean, it was so funny as hell. Also, some other deleted scenes that basically originally Jay was going to say the scene to Dante, but because of how Jason Mewes, who played Jay, was originally drunk in the scene, Smith decided to use that for Silent Bob, thus creating the words of his wisdom only when needed. And basically, yeah, yep, really awesome callbacks to some fun facts about the first movie and the second movie as well. Just some awesome callbacks to other previous films of the VSQ universe. And basically, yeah. And the ending, wow, I didn't expect it to be that way, and I didn't expect this movie to be so emotional. I mean, I didn't expect the movie to be as much as emotional as the second movie, but way more emotional than the second movie because of Dante's heart attack thing. And yeah, it was so sad to watch. And I also really like about how they reused some of the old clips from the first and the second movie, mainly with the first movie. But yeah, it was overall just really fun, with Randal talking with Dante for the last time, showing his movie, Dante crying, and wow. The movie actually did make me cry at some points. The movie really did make me cry at some points. It is funny. It's also really emotional as well. I didn't really expect the movie to make me cry about Dante dying. I didn't really expect Dante to die. And wow. I mean, it was so emotional. It was very emotional that it was much more emotional than Wolverine's death in Logan, and probably much more emotional than Iron Man's death in Avengers Endgame. But this was pretty sad to see, and it was emotionally satisfying, and it was a great conclusion to Dante and Randal's story, and it was a great conclusion to Dante's character, now being in heaven with his wife, and now Randal is running the quick stop, and Elias is now like his new best friend now, but he still feels Dante's presence, and it's like a Force ghost and something like that. Of course, Star Wars stuff like that, Star Wars shit. But basically, yeah, it was so emotional. I mean, we also get to call back to some other characters from the previous from the VSQ universe, like how we get to see Millennium Falcon, Harley Quinn Smith's character, and Jay's biological daughter that we get to see from from Jay and Silent Bob reboot, and seeing her again in the third movie was pretty awesome and was a really good callback. Yeah. And also seeing Jay and Silent Bob attending Dante's funeral was also really awesome. And yeah, pay for respects for both of them. But basically, yeah, I'm not even supposed to be here today. But overall, I think Clerks 3 was a great conclusion to the VSQ universe, and I also think that Clerks 3 was a great conclusion to Dante and Randal's story, to Dante and Randal's characters, where Randal gets to mature a lot. Well, probably not a lot, but still gets to mature more, and basically seeing him losing his friend was so emotional. It was very sad. And a lot of people even clapped for this movie and even enjoyed it a lot. But wow, I was also one of those people that also clapped this film. And I think that this movie was overall just a great conclusion to Dante and Randal's character. Randal being mature, probably not a lot, but Randal basically being mature and now trying to do the best that he can to ran the quick stop. Now being in charge of the quick stop after Dante dies, and Elias now being Randal's new friend. I'll call back to Clerks 2, and yeah, really fun nod. And the movie ends the same way with Clerks 2. But wow, I did not expect the emotional stakes being really high. I did not expect that at all. But wow, it was so good. It was really good. I know that there were some people that do have a lot of hate for Kevin Smith, especially from the He-Man Masters of the Universe controversy, but I still love Kevin Smith, and I do love his movies. And yeah, I mean, I still love his movies, and I still love about how he got me into filmmaking as well, right next with some other directors like Christopher Nolan and Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and other directors such as who else other than that? Phil Lord and Christopher Miller as well. And yeah, wow, I did not expect the movie to be so emotional. This movie is just overall really amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's one of the best movies of the year. That, of course, right next with Dragon Ball Superhero, and right next with DC's League of Super Pets, and possibly Black Adam, but also The Batman, and basically, yeah, even though Black Adam is not out yet, but basically, I'm going to give Clerks 3 5 stars. It is overall a really good movie, a great conclusion to Dante and Randal's story, and a great conclusion to the VSQ universe, and a great conclusion to just basically, yeah, and nostalgia bait done right. Great acting, great emotional depths, great character development, great character arcs, great humor, and basically just overall just a really good movie that everyone could enjoy. And if you have not seen this movie, go watch it. But if you don't know what Clerks is, you might need to watch the first film and the other previous VSQ universe films before watching this movie. So that's my review for Clerks 3. What do you guys think about it? Leave your thoughts in the comments down below, and leave a like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out, guys. Peace out.